Hi, everybody. It's Andra, and I'm here with Elisa Fucci, and we are going to be talking about relationships. Let's see how good our relationships are really. So, she's a life coach, but she's also a relationship coach. And I was interested when I found out what she did to find out more about what it is they do and how they work with people and they get people happy and smiling again. Because when you're in relationships for a long time, it's not always smooth sailing and some people just want to run. So I think that these things can help a lot of people. So here we go. So please meet Elisa. Hi, sweetie.
Hello. Hi. Thank you for having me. And thank you, everyone, for watching. My name is Elisa Fucci, and I am originally from Argentina, but I reside here in Vegas. The reason why I wanted to become a relationship life coach is because I'll share a little bit of my story. I was married to my husband for 11 years. We got divorced. We were divorced for 3 years. And then after that, we decided to give it another try. We're like, let's try it again. Like the dating pool sucks. Let's try it again. Plus, our kids were struggling, and we were together for 3 more years. And we got back into the same cycles, right? Of like fighting for the power struggle. You need to do this. These are my expectations. You're not meeting my expectations, so I can't be happy. You're not doing what I need you to do. So I feel like I'm doing 100% and you're doing 20, right? All the comparison, all the struggles that come up with the relationship when you're trying to have a fair relationship, when you're comparing, when you have expectations. And we were miserable. We were unhappy. We were just fighting the whole time. There were weeks that we might not even talk to each other. And this was with therapy. I was doing therapy, and we were also doing marriage counseling, where marriage counseling worked while we were there, while we had a mediator. But once we stepped out, it was gloves off. Like we were arguing all the time because we're trying to be someone we were not, to please the other person. And one day I listened to a podcast, Andrea Giles' podcast, and she talked about a tool that is taught by the Life Coaching School, which is the model, which breaks down your life and everything in it into five categories. You have your circumstances, which are neutral. They're facts. They're things that you can't change. And then you have your thoughts about the circumstances, and your thoughts generate an emotion in your body. Then you have your feelings, and your feelings drive your actions or inactions, and your actions and inactions create your results. So I was like, wait a minute. So you're telling me that I don't need to change my circumstances so I can be happy, so I can change my results? I was like, wait a minute. Like, nobody has ever taught me this. All this time I'm going to therapy and marriage counseling, and I'm trying to change my husband so then I can feel happy, so then I can feel loved and secure in the relationship. You're telling me that if I just change my thoughts, I can feel all these things without having to wait for my husband to do certain things and check these boxes? I have to try this tool. And I did. And 2 months later, we got remarried. And I was like, if this tool alone is this powerful, I have to become a life coach. I have to learn more of these tools. I have to teach this to women that are feeling like hopeless, that are stuck in the same cycles, repeating the same cycle. And it's like, no, it's like you're dancing to a tune that you are sick of dancing, right? And you're like, how did I end up here? How did I end up dancing this tune? I hate it. But then you fall back into the same habits in the relationship, whether you're married or you're dating, and you find yourself repeating the same cycle. I wanted to teach women and empower them with this simple tool, but I have so many other tools. But that's why I wanted to become a relationship life coach, because I was like, this is powerful, and it is simple, and it gives the power back to you instead of giving it to the other person. Instead of saying, Here's my happiness. Hold it in your hands and don't you dare drop it. Here's my happy. Instead of doing that, you get to hold your happiness. You get to decide what makes you happy, and you get to be in charge of how happy you are. It's all up to us, because happiness is an emotion. Love is an emotion, and those are generated within us. Nobody passes us love or happiness. It's not a disease. It's not COVID, right? It's not that. It is generated within. So if it's generated within, we have all the control. So I teach women how to heal and reconnect with themselves so they can break free from these cycles that they keep repeating in their relationships, so they can have the relationship they want, so they can start enjoying the relationship instead of resenting their kids, their spouses, their mother-in-laws, whoever, like their siblings. Instead of resenting those people, the ones that you love the most, you get to enjoy them, and you get to love them for who they are, instead of trying to waste all your energy to trying to control them so they can be who you think they need to be. So that's kind of what I do and how I got to this point.
I love that. It's really all about acceptance, you know. I think there's a lot of people out there that when they get married, they think people are going to change. People don't change. So they are who they are. You know, we all want to mold them into these perfect little people, and it's just not so. So would you do like coupling? Because I think that I know you work with you speak to women, because we
Yes.
all work with women. Everybody in Unleasher is like working with women. But would you work with a couple? Like if there was a couple that was having issues, would they both benefit from working with you? Because I would think that if they're both working towards the same goals, because this is all about acceptance, you know, that they'd have much better outcomes, because he'd be worried about his own happiness and she'd be worried about his own. Does it separate them in some way, like, or it just lets them live their own life in a more together fashion?
I work with women only. I have worked with men, but not couples. And guess what? Yes, it can separate. I mean, I have seen this women empowerment movement has gotten women to distance themselves from their spouses or from their significant other, because now they have all this power and they are like, oh, I don't need you anymore. If you're not meeting me here, then you are dragging me. You are just a dead weight, right? I've seen this women empowerment movement create that, and I have experienced that in my life. So I was in this place where I felt like, I am doing all these things. Now I can control my own emotions. I can determine what to do, and I don't need you. But as human beings, we need that connection. We
Yes.
have to be connected. We have to be surrounded by other people. So it goes against who we are, that to want to be away and not loving towards the other person. So what I teach is the opposite. It's to, once you love yourself and you're able to stand up for yourself, you get to offer that to the other person. You get to offer that love, and you share that, and it pours over all your relationships. So instead of feeling like that person is less than because they're not meeting you where you are, now you get to say, you are amazing just like I am, and we are both amazing, and we both get to be happy in the way we want to be happy. I don't need to make you do anything so you can be happy, so I can be happy. I respect you, and I know that you are capable of knowing what's best for you, and I love you that way. So what I like about my program is I teach them how to become Pygmalion partners, which comes from the Pygmalion effect. It's a study that was done with a psychologist and a principal, where teachers were given a handful of students that were taken a test, and the test was it was an IQ test, and the test was supposed to tell them hey, this group of students are going to perform so much better than all the rest, and they show great improvement throughout the year. Their development is going to grow this year. So this is what the teachers were told. So they knew that this group of kids were going to be smarter than all the other ones. So what changed was the input for the teachers towards those kids changed. They were kinder, they were warmer, their environment changed for those students. The feedback that the students were receiving were different. So when the student was giving the wrong answer, the teachers would give them more time to think, or prompt them to think different, or guide them in a different way. And it changed also how the students performed. And at the end of the year, they were given a test and they did better than all the other students. But guess what? Those kids were picked like random, and the test was made up. So it goes to show you how you view people affects their performance. So I teach the group of women, my clients, to start viewing their spouses as already good enough, as already an amazing husband, a hard worker. He already loves me. He already cares for me. And when you start believing that, you treat them differently. You think differently about them. You feel different about them. So what changes? Your environment in your home changes. And you show up different in the relationship. You're happier. And if you're happy, then your husband doesn't need to worry about making you happy. So then what does he have to do? He has to worry about keeping himself happy. And if you stop controlling him, he gets to be the emotional adult and come up with his own ways to solve his own problems, because now you're happy on your own. And because you respect him and you believe in him, he gets to be and show that maturity and come up with his own solutions. And you get to be his support system, his cheerleader, instead of his mom. So that's what I teach women. And that's what changed my marriage. It was just being able to just drop all the expectations and see him as already this amazing man. How is he already showing me that he loves me? And I started seeing what he did without me doing anything, without me telling him. And I started appreciating what he was already doing for me, who he is, without me trying to manipulate him. And it really works. It's also called, the study is the Pygmalion effect, but it's also called the self-manifesting effect, because it does manifest what you believe about this person will change and influence the behavior of the other person. I use it with my kids as well. I believe that my kids are amazing, that they're capable, that I don't need to tell them what to do every single minute and second of the day. I believe that if they encounter a problem, I don't need to tell them what to do. They need to figure out themselves, because I believe in them. I don't need to worry when they fail a class, because I believe that they are capable to get out of that problem. And so I let them solve it. And when you believe in someone that much, at first they might not believe in themselves, but eventually they do. And it shows, because you are changing everything around them by believing in them. So that's kind of like the biggest power tool, like the biggest tool that I use in my program, because it is so powerful. It really works.
Do you have ever the situation where you meet people that just aren't ready to say, well, meet the men where they're at, and say, because I was laughing when you said, what does he have to do? I was thinking of my husband. But seriously, like people who just, I know some people that have been married a really long time, and I'm married a really long time. So when they tell me that their problems, I don't see them as real problems, but for them, it's the end of the world. And some people just don't want to work it out because they don't want to see their part in it. Like, because what you're talking about is really owning your own responsibility, owning your own shit, like CJ always says, and just taking care of your side of the street. And So a lot of people don't really want to look at their partner and raise them up, because if they raise them up, they have to look at what they're doing wrong. And I don't think it should be about right and wrong, but do you have people that would say, no, it's too much work, I'd rather not? Do you ever run into that?
They don't have to. What I do is I just teach you a tool. You get to create whatever you want with that tool. It's not my responsibility to tell my clients, now go and build this shelf, or now go and build this home. You get to do whatever you want with the tool I give you. But I can show you what that tool can do and what it has done in other relationships, and you can choose to believe it or not. When we don't want to own to our own parts, when we don't want to work on ourselves, we are stuck in the victim mentality. We are stuck, and we are always going to be blaming others, blaming ourselves, or blaming the circumstance. And that leaves us feeling disempowered. That leaves us always searching outside of us and for validation to feel a certain way. And it leaves us like emotional children. That's why most of the world is walking around as wounded children, wounded emotional children, because they're reacting to all their wounds, and
except for our audience here today.
Yeah.
But not you guys. We're just saying in general.
The majority, yes. But the moment we start owning up to our part, the moment we start being in control of our own thoughts, our own emotions, and our own actions, and taking control over our lives, we become emotional adults. Just because we're 18, 21, doesn't mean that we are emotional adults. We get to do that when we start owning up and saying, I am angry because I felt this, because I am being triggered. It has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with me. Now I am going to do this to fix it. That's when we are really emotional adults, when we really own up to our part. When we don't make or force other people to do or act a certain way so we can feel something, because it's impossible. First of all, we can try all we want, but nobody has created a way to control other people. Like, really, if you have, let's sell it.
I don't know.
You can manipulate them into doing things, but you can't really control someone, right? Like, that's not what you want. And there's a book that I love. It's called, oh my gosh, it's by Don Miguel Ruiz. He has the 4 agreements, but he did a book, and in it, he talks about how when we marry someone and they're a dog, right? Like, let's say you buy a puppy, and then as we get into the relationship, we're like, oh no, I really wanted a cat. And then all throughout your relationship, you're trying to train this dog to be a cat. And they're like, and you're miserable because it's like, no, it's a dog, but like so that's kind of what, when you have expectations, that's really what you're trying to do. When you're trying to control others, you're telling them, I really wanted a cat. I know you're a dog, but I really want a cat. And I love how cats purr. And I like that I can pet them. And I like that they're really independent. And you're like, the other person's like, wait, I can't ever be a cat. I'm a dog. This is what I'm good at. So that's really what expectations do for a relationship. It's basically, you're trying to tell them, I don't want you to be this, I want you to be that.
But
and really that's impossible.
You're not really accepting who they are either. So if you really want to change them, then it's not really them that you fell in love with. It was in a whole idea of what you believe they should be. You know, you liked how he looked, and then you said, we'll mold this, we'll mold that, and everything will be okay. I get that. I get that. So you also have a podcast, right, where you empower Latino women, right? So what is that like? What is that about?
So that's pretty much me like talking to you as a sister, like how I would talk to my best friend. And it's like me sharing my struggles of the week, or my struggles as a mother, as an entrepreneur, in my relationships, everything that I've learned. And it's me telling you, hey, like, this is what's going on. This is how I fixed it. I'm giving you the tools so you don't have to go through it. And if you are, I understand you. I wanted it to be like the conversations I have with my sisters, because I have 5 sisters and they're my best friends. And I would just have 2-hour phone conversations with them. And I was like, I want this. Those are when you get those aha moments, right? Those conversations that you have with your best friend or with your sisters or siblings. Those are like when you go, oh, you're right. Yes, that's what my podcast is. It's like, oh, like people that hear my podcast are like, I feel like you're like, I known you forever. I feel like just you're right there. And then I have your voice all over, like when I'm at the grocery store and I hear Elisa said this, so I should be like. So it's like I
cool.
follow through. I follow you through like your whole day after you listen to me. I have that effect. So that's kind of what my podcast is. And it's how to overcome the struggles that a woman has, a businesswoman, in the relationships, with faith, with everything that we have to handle and juggle, right? We have so much. So just they're sharing what works for me. So
I think that's great. I think that's a lot of value to give. What would be one thing that you feel that would help people in relationships, other than not trying to change them? That what would be one relationship tip that you could give to our audience today?
one thing that has actually really helped me is start changing the negative thoughts you have about this person into positive ones. And if you have to work on one negative thought this week, just stick to one. Like, let's say he doesn't love me, right? Or I am not his priority. Those are like the most important, the most common ones, right? I am not his priority. Our marriage is not a priority. Or he's not spiritual enough. He's not committed, right? Pick one, because I'm sure you have hundreds. I had, and they still come back, okay? He still triggers me, and that's okay, because now I know how to handle the triggers. But pick one, and every time that thought comes up, change it for a positive one. Change it to one that makes you feel love and connected towards him, instead of distant and angry and resentful. Okay. So if your thought is like, I am not his priority, change it to maybe he's a hard worker, or he really does love me, or he's a good man. And then start looking for ways that he's already showing you that he's a good man. Your brain loves assignments. So your brain's like a dog. If you throw it a bone, it'll go and fetch it. So if you tell your brain, let's go see how he is already a good man, your brain's going to go and fetch that bone or the ball, okay? So if you give your brain, instead of telling your brain, let's look for everything he's not doing, which is what you have been doing, right? Instead of doing that, like, what is he already doing? How is he showing me that he's a good man, that he's a good father, that he's spiritual? And you're going to be amazed. And if you don't see it, ask him, hey, can you tell me how you are showing up as a good dad? Like, what do you do? Like, seriously, I'm really curious. Can you tell me? Because I'm not seeing it, but I would love to see it. Like, get curious, ask them. I'm sure they're going to be like, well, I do this, and you're like, oh, okay. So he thinks this is what he's fulfilling, how he's fulfilling this role. Okay. No wonder he hasn't been changing, because he already thinks he's doing it. Right. So yeah, change one thought this week. Pick one thought that's negative about the other person. It could be about your kids or your mother-in-law, whoever that you want to work on a relationship. Pick one thought, and every time it comes up, change it for a positive one. Every time you have to choose. The brain is all about a muscle, and the more you change, the more you use it, the stronger it'll get. So Start with one thought. The next week, pick another thought and slowly start changing how you think about this person in a negative way to a positive way.
I like that. I think that's very good advice. Okay, so what else would you like to share with our audience today before we sign out?
Oh, I would love to share my free guided meditation because it is a way to get you unstuck. I call it,
Well, I'm just gonna put it in the chat.
Okay, awesome.
Because
Yes.
when you go live, it loses whatever. Oh, well, this time it didn't, but I'm gonna put them again.
Awesome.
So
Yes.
they have them. So
Perfect.
who's ever
Right
watched
there.
because
Yes.
sometimes after you get out of when it goes, the live is done, sometimes it's hard to find it in the feed unless somebody comments or something. So I always wind up reposting, but this is so much easier. That's why I said, let me just
Awesome.
copy it.
Awesome. Yes, thank you. So
Mhm.
it's a way to digest your emotions. And you're like, wait, what? Digest your emotions? So our bodies are born knowing, most of them, okay? Most bodies are born knowing how to digest food, right? It goes through your body. You don't even have to tell your body what to do. It does it on its own. It takes the nutrients, it takes what it needs for energy and gets rid of the waste, right? Well, emotions, if we don't digest them, they get stuck inside of us. If we don't process them, they get stuck and then they manifest in like a headache or shoulder pain, or they get there and they're unprocessed, right? So my free guided meditation, which is one of the most downloaded things that I have, I also did a podcast episode and it's episode 63 if you want to hear it. But if you want to have a visual, it's also in, that's what I'm showing you on the link. But it walks you through how to really digest the emotion and take what you need from that, because an emotion is a good sign that your body is working properly. It is good. You're like, oh, it's helpful. It's a red flag. It's something, it's a way of your body to tell you, hey, there's something here that you need to process. There's something here that you need to learn. So it's good. It's just we need to learn how to process it, take what we need. Okay, oh, it's telling me that this is what's going on. It's telling me that I have a trigger, that I have an untreated trauma, that something is bothering me within that I need to heal. Once you learn that, you can let it go, let the emotion go through you, and there's a process that I walk you through. And I allow them to just let it go to the universe or let it go to God. And then really connect with yourself. Like, what do I need to do with this now? So it tunes you into your body and to your spirit and to God to allow you to process this emotion. I have had people that did this meditation and had a headache for 2 weeks, gone after my meditation. I had someone that thought that she had processed this trauma from years ago. And after doing this meditation, she realized she was holding on to it still. And she did the meditation and she slept for a whole day because it was taking up that much energy and space inside her body to hold on to this emotion. So it is so powerful. I have people that listen to it every day and I'm like, just go for it. Yeah. Like the purpose is to actually get good at it. So you don't need to have my meditation tell you, like my voice. But if you need it every day, go for it. It's a way to empower yourself and get to know your body and your spirit and reconnect. It's amazing. Really powerful.
I meditate every morning. I have a really long commute in the morning and I meditate. So I'll be popping it on. It might be
awesome.
My new meditation.
I don't know if it's good for like the car. Try it out. I don't want you to crash or anything.
No, I take public transportation because I travel far for work.
Okay,
so,
then
yeah.
It'll be good then.
I plug it in. I do my gratitude list on the train and then I plug that in and just kind of zone out.
Awesome. I would love to hear your advice, like your input on it.
They probably think I'm crazy on the train sitting there with the, I'm sure I'm talking all loud and stuff to myself because
you're like,
a lot of them will like to me. Oh yeah, that no breath work on the train. I'll hyperventilate. No, but like she tells you to get into the like the woman that I use, she tells you to get into these positions, and so people can see what I'm doing. I mean, nobody sits down, you know. I don't care. At this stage of my life, like, what if, you know,
Yeah.
I'm here to make my own happiness. So
Yes. Yes.
yes. So I'm really glad you came in today, and I think people got a lot of value out of what you shared.
Thank
And
you.
they do have a way to get in touch with you. And I'm gonna close out this, but then I'm gonna post this on the other pages and send you copies. So don't
Thank
go away.
you.
I'll say goodbye to you in a second.
Okay.
Bye, guys. Okay. Let me shut this off.